Hi, my name is Kathy Lee, and this is my Project Risk Management PowerPoint. So just a quick overview of what I'll be going over. I will be going over what project risk is, the goals and benefits of risk management, the risk management process, identifying and quantifying risks, conducting risk management planning, and monitoring and controlling those risks. To begin, risk in business is defined as the main cause of uncertainty in any organization. Project risk is defined by Project Management Institute as an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on a project's objectives. That includes scope, schedule, cost, and quality. Some of the goals of risk management are to help increase the probability and impact of positive events while also decreasing the probability and impact of negative events within a project. This benefits us in ways that it encourages proactive management practices, it identifies the risks early and incorporates them into the plans, it increases the chances of a project's success, and it manages the expectations for all the stakeholders. So this is how the risk management process works. To begin, you identify what the risk is. You make a list of potential risks. Then you move on to risk analysis. You prioritize that list that you just created to figure out which one's going to have a more positive outcome and which ones will have a more negative. From there, you go to risk planning. At risk planning, you're forming contingency plans in a way that you can try and avoid the negative risks from happening. And then after that, you do risk monitoring and risk assessment. You're watching to see what happens. You're making sure, you're trying to see how your plan worked, and if not, you need to make some adjustments, which is where you go back to risk analysis. And the process continues in that little loop right there. Here are some risk identification techniques. A couple of ways that you can do it is brainstorming, checklist, interviewing, the SWOT analysis, where SWOT is defined as strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The Delphi technique, which uses anonymous consensuses within a building, mind mapping, or diagramming techniques, which include cause and effect charts, flow charts, and influence diagrams. So here are some examples of potential risks and how they occur. So a type of risk would be project integration. Now this happens when there's inadequate planning, poor resource allocation, or poor integration management. Then there's project scope, which happens when there's poor definition of scope or inadequate scope control. There's project schedule risks, which happens when there's errors in estimating time or resource availability, poor allocation and management of float, or early release of competitive products. And then there's project cost. This happens when there's estimating errors or there's inadequate productivity. And finally, there's project quality. This happens when there's poor attitude toward quality, substandard design, materials, or workmanship, or there's inadequate quality assurance programs. So these are risk analysis. There's two ways of doing it. There's the qualitative and then there's the quantitative. The qualitative uses the probability of occurrence and consequence of occurrence scales together with a risk mapping matrix to convert the values to risk levels that is expressed as low, medium, and high. However, this may be less precise than the quantitative analysis. The quantitative analysis uses objective data and relies on a numeric value and historic data. Some popular techniques for quantitative analysis are sensitivity analysis, expected value, decision tree analysis, and modeling and simulating. Risk planning has positives and negatives. So for the positive sides, it allows you to exploit, share, enhance, and accept what happens with a project. And as for dealing with the negative risks, it helps you avoid those risks, transfer, mitigate, and accept them as well. So risk monitoring and controlling. This is implementing a risk response plan, tracking identified risks, monitoring residual risks, identifying new risks, and evaluating risk processes effectiveness throughout the project. Some tools and techniques used are risk audits, reserve analysis, and risk reassessment. In conclusion, project risk management is the art and science of identifying, analyzing, planning, and monitoring of project risks throughout the life of a project and in the best interest of meeting project objectives. The main processes include identify risks, perform analysis, plan risk responses, and monitor and control risks. And finally, this is the reference page.